The SAS commandos stealthily advanced through the darkness, infiltrating the German airbase in Bagish. With precise movements, they silently eliminated the nearby guards using their sharp knives. Each step was calculated, each breath controlled. They then placed plastic explosives on all the aircraft they encountered, exiting the perimeter without leaving a trace. Minutes later, the imposing figure of Paddy Mayne, known as the Irish Lion, watched from a distance as the enemy base transformed into a storm of flames and explosions. The sight was intense, but for Mayne, it wasn't enough. Damn it, we destroyed 40 aircraft. Some of the damned primers must have been damp, he murmured, dissatisfied with the destruction that 3 SS commandos had caused. Determined to wreak even more havoc, Mayne ordered the commandos to return to their heavily armed jeeps. The job was far from finished. The mission now was to devastate the entire base, targeting the perimeter guns. This was the relentless nature of the Irish Lion, who, in North Africa, left a trail of destruction and weakened the Axis forces. Robert Blair Paddy Mayne was born on January 11, 1915, in Newtownards, Northern Ireland, the 6th of 7 siblings. Coming from a wealthy Protestant family in the United Kingdom, Mayne was named after his mother's second cousin, Captain Robert Mayne, who died in combat during the early months of World War I as an officer in the British Expeditionary Force. From a young age, Paddy never shied away from action. In primary school, he joined the school's first 15 and the local Ards RFC rugby teams. Not content with just one sport, Paddy also excelled as a novice marksman at a local club and practiced less aggressive sports like golf and cricket. After finishing high school, Mayne decided to study law at Queen's University Belfast, intending to become a successful lawyer. Paddy Mayne's life, however, took a different turn. He became a living legend in the SAS, known for his bravery and determination. While studying, Paddy Mayne became a cadet officer in the Belfast contingent of the Officer Training Corps. In addition to his academic pursuits, the restless Irish warrior found time to train in boxing, becoming the university heavyweight boxing champion in 1936. His impressive athletic build and endurance also led Paddy to excel in rugby, playing as a second-row forward for the Irish team. In 1938, Paddy Mayne and his rugby team won 6 matches, and he was chosen for the British Lions tour to South Africa. During this trip, his teammates complained about the lack of fresh meat. Demonstrating his skill and initiative, Mayne quickly hunted a springbok to feed his friends. At 23, he did not win the tour, but his adventures, heavy drinking habits, and thirst for trouble made him a popular and energetic figure. As the war in Europe loomed in 1939, Paddy, with his restless spirit, decided to fight for God, king, and country against the growing threat of the German Third Reich. In March 1939, he enlisted in the Supplementary Reserve in Newtownards, receiving a commission in the Royal Artillery as the British Army prepared for the imminent conflict. Paddy's plans for a legal and sports career were abruptly interrupted when France and the United Kingdom declared war on Germany in September 1939, following the invasion of Poland. After several regiment transfers, he joined the Royal Ulster Rifles during the British retreat from Dunkirk and volunteered to join the newly formed No. 11 Scottish Commando. The brutal training to become a commando of the No. 11 was a rigorous test of Mayne's physicality. He became an expert in weapons, demolitions, swimming, mountaineering, map reading, and hand-to-hand combat. By the time he was dispatched to the Mediterranean in the summer of 1941, Paddy was already an experienced warrior, embodying the fighting spirit of the Irish people. The excellent athlete, but undisciplined soldier, participated in the failed attack on the Litani River in Lebanon, where over 100 Commonwealth soldiers died. Even so, the Irish warrior led his men effectively, risking his life under heavy fire. After the failed operation, while resting in Cyprus, Mayne's impetuous temper flared when he became furious with his commander for not including him in a secret mission to kidnap General Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox. During a dinner, in a fit of rage, Mayne knocked out his colonel with a powerful kick to the chin. This behavior could easily have abruptly ended his military career, but his previous heroic actions spared him years of imprisonment. While awaiting a court-martial in a prison cell for assaulting his superior officer, Paddy Mayne was surprisingly recruited into the parachute regiment. His new commander, Colonel David Sterling, founder of the legendary SAS Special Air Service, had noticed Mayne's bravery on the battlefield. With a personal recommendation letter from a lieutenant in the 11th Scottish Commando, Mayne joined a unit that was about to become one of the first special operations units in the world. Many men with Paddy Mayne's rough and rebellious temperament were transferred to the North African continent for specialized training. There, under Colonel Sterling's leadership, they were transformed into authentic commandos. The British fought a fierce battle against the Italian Army and the Afrika Korps, led by the audacious Rommel. The Commonwealth troops faced great difficulties in overcoming Rommel's tactics. Sterling decided to change this with the Long-Range Desert Group, LRDG. On the night of December 14, 1941, Mayne and the LRDG commandos led a daring raid on the Tamat airfield in Libya. His team ruthlessly stormed the officers' mess, brutally eliminating the Italians and Germans inside. Adrenaline was running high as Mayne and his men moved swiftly through the airfield, planting explosives and causing destruction. The sound of explosions and gunfire filled the night, creating an atmosphere of chaos and fear. Mayne, with his fierce determination, led his commandos with precision, each move calculated to maximize impact. The enemy base was ablaze, but this was not enough for Mayne. Dissatisfied with the initial destruction, he ordered his men to return to their heavily armed jeeps. "The job isn't finished yet," he declared firmly. His determination to destroy the entire base, including the perimeter guns, was clear. As they watched the destruction from a distance, the imposing figure of Paddy Mayne, the Irish Lion, knew that each explosion and gunshot represented a significant blow against the Axis forces. His courage and leadership were unquestionable, inspiring his men to keep fighting with everything they had. The SAS commandos planted explosives on various aircraft and strategic points around the base. Not satisfied with just that, Paddy Mayne, the Irish Lion, ripped out the control panel of an enemy fighter, impressing his fellow SAS comrades. The operation was a success, destroying more than 24 enemy aircraft, several ammunition depots, fuel storage, and communication lines. The Axis troops, believing that the enemy would not attack Tamat again, resumed their activities as usual. This proved to be a grave mistake. On December 27th, Paddy Mayne and his commandos returned to the base, destroying another 27 aircraft, as well as a large number of trucks, trailers, and supplies. For his actions in the two attacks, Mayne was awarded the Distinguished Service Order, further enhancing his reputation among the SAS operators. In early 1942, when Erwin Rommel launched his counteroffensive against the Commonwealth Forces' Gazala Line, Paddy Mayne and the SAS were back in action. Mayne, now promoted to captain, led a series of daring raids behind enemy lines in the North African deserts. Gaining notoriety, Paddy Mayne and his commandos were dispatched to the Benghazi sector, where they wreaked havoc on airfields and the port. Wherever Mayne went, destruction followed. Days later, Captain Mayne, along with 2 corporals and a private, discreetly infiltrated the Burqa satellite airfield, occupied by Axis forces, to sabotage it. Under the cover of darkness, the commandos crawled through the sand and rocks, reaching the base by the morning of March 15th. Silently, they attached explosives to aircraft, fuel depots, and a pile of torpedoes. The result was total destruction. 15 aircraft were set ablaze, many others damaged, and massive explosions around the base completed the scene of chaos. The tension was palpable as the commandos awaited the explosions. When the first booms echoed across the base, flames lit up the night, revealing the mission's success. The commandos quickly retreated, satisfied with the havoc they had wreaked. But Mayne, always seeking more, was already planning the next mission, knowing that the war was far from over. Mayne and his men escaped unharmed, but they had to walk over 30 miles to reach the rendezvous point. Despite the successful sabotage, Rommel's skilled leadership led the Axis to a victory over the British 8th Army, capturing more than 30,000 Allied soldiers, several generals, and essential supplies for the Africa Corps. The British were forced to retreat to El Alamein, near Egypt, in June 1942. While facing attacks in Malta and aerial combats with Luftwaffe aircraft, Paddy Mayne and Commander Sterling decided it was crucial to strike enemy airfields to change the course of the battle. This decision led the SAS to equip a fleet of jeeps for fast and mobile operations throughout North Africa, transforming the commandos into a fully motorized unit. These all-terrain vehicles were armed with Vickers and .50 caliber Browning machine guns, ready to cause destruction at any enemy outposts they encountered. On July 4, 1942, the SAS headed to Axis airfields in the Begish-Fuka sector, about 100 miles deep into enemy territory. During the night of July 7th, the fearless Paddy Mayne and 3 commandos infiltrated the base and blew up 22 Luftwaffe fighters. Unsatisfied with the results, Mayne and his men stormed the enemy airfield with their jeeps, opening fire with their machine guns until they ran out of ammunition, destroying another 12 enemy aircraft. With a smile of satisfaction after the smoke and fire emerged from the enemy base, Captain Paddy Mayne ordered a full-speed retreat. Like ghosts in the desert, they vanished without a trace. Following this success, Sterling devised an even more ambitious plan with Mayne's cooperation. They decided together to attack the Luftwaffe base at El Daba, 50 miles from El Alamein. They knew this would not be an easy operation, as the Germans would be prepared this time. However, the 2 commanders planned meticulously. Leaving their hideout, they would strike the base, surprising the enemy with the sudden appearance of their jeeps. The SAS jeeps would break through the perimeter, destroying every obstacle in their path. On July 9th, they put the plan into action, destroying 14 aircraft. Days later, in another attack on the Fuka installations, 20 more aircraft were destroyed, significantly weakening the Axis air power in the region. On July 27th, Sterling and Mayne led a daring raid on the Sidi Hainish airbase, where the Luftwaffe had stationed bombers and Junker Ju-52 transport aircraft. More than 18 SAS jeeps stormed the installations under the full moon, catching the Germans completely off guard and destroying or severely damaging at least 40 aircraft. When the North African campaign ended with the defeat of the Africa Corps, Mayne was credited with the destruction of over 100 enemy aircraft. After Commander Sterling was captured in January 1943, the 1st SAS Regiment was split into the Special Boat Section and the Special Raiding Squadron. Mayne, now a major, became the commander of the Special Raiding Squadron and led operations in Sicily and Italy until Allied troops established a permanent foothold on the Italian peninsula. In January 1944, Mayne was promoted to lieutenant colonel due to his exploits on the peninsula and was given command of the reformed 1st SAS Regiment. As an experienced warrior, Mayne led his men in daring operations in France, Belgium, Norway, and Germany. During the liberation of France, Mayne worked closely with the French resistance, earning a second bar on his Distinguished Service Order decoration. In Oldenburg, Germany, Mayne gained legendary status after his squadron came under enemy fire. The restless Irish warrior, Paddy Mayne, lifted his wounded comrades one by one, carrying them to safety. Then, he returned alone to the battlefield to confront the enemy gunners entrenched in a farmhouse, demonstrating unparalleled courage and determination. Field Marshal Montgomery and even King George VI declared that Mayne deserved the Victoria Cross, the highest British military decoration. However, this honor was denied, and he received other awards instead. After the war ended, Paddy Mayne returned to Northern Ireland and resumed his career as a lawyer, also serving as the secretary of the Law Society of Northern Ireland. His heroic and brave life ended tragically in a car accident in 1955. Half a century after his death, the proposal to award him the Victoria Cross resurfaced, sparking heated debates among military circles. Regardless of the discussions about awards, Mayne's incredible physical prowess, energy, and bold bravery during his years of service in Africa remain immortalized. His story is remembered in books, films, and the military history of World War II, perpetuating the legacy of the Irish Lion. If you were moved by the story of Paddy Mayne and want to hear more heroic and exciting tales from World War II, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications to stay updated on historical events and other inspiring stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.